At the journey's end, there is a major distinction between having been alive and having lived, and NASCAR Hall of Famer Cale Yarborough, by all metrics, surely falls into the latter category. One of the greatest NASCAR drivers, whose legendary toughness earned him notoriety far beyond his native state of South Carolina, passed away at the age of 84, transcending into eternity and leaving behind many records in the sport. This is his story. Born in 1939 in the small town of Timmonsville, South Carolina, Yarborough faced adversity early in life when his father perished in a plane crash when he was just 12. As the eldest of three sons, he was compelled to mature rapidly, and while he briefly engaged in semi-professional football and Golden Gloves boxing, it was in the realm of auto racing that he truly left his mark. After attending the second ever Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway in 1951 without a ticket, Yarborough ventured into NASCAR, attempting to make his Cup debut in one of the sport's most physically demanding races. However, still a teenager at the time, he lied about his age, leading to disqualification by the sanctioning body. Remarkably, a garage at Darlington now bears his name. His first appearance at Darlington occurred in 1957 at the age of 18, but his debut was short-lived as he completed only 31 laps before a mechanical failure forced him out of the event. Undeterred by the setback, he returned 2 years later, finishing 27th and completing 219 out of 364 laps. In 1960, he expanded his racing endeavors beyond Darlington, participating at a different venue for the first time. He secured a 14th place finish at the Southern States Fairgrounds dirt track in Charlotte, North Carolina. As the years progressed, his presence in races multiplied, and by 1964, Cale was actively participating in nearly half of the extensive 60-plus race schedule. The following year, in 1965, marked a significant milestone as he clinched his maiden checkered flag, and at a half-mile dirt track in Valdosta, Georgia, he triumphed with a remarkable 3-lap advantage over his competitors. Continuing to run a partial schedule in the subsequent years, Cale Yarborough joined forces with the renowned Wood Brothers racing team in the latter part of the 1966 season. Their partnership yielded swift success as he emerged victorious in both the Atlanta 500 and the Firecracker 400 at Daytona in 1967, signaling the start of an impressive collaboration. In addition to his accomplishments with the Wood Brothers, Yarborough ventured into the realm of the Indianapolis 500 in 1966 and 1967. But unfortunately, driving a Volstead Ford, he experienced crashes in both attempts. Despite starting only 21 out of 49 races in 1968, Yarborough showcased his prowess by securing 6 victories with the Wood Brothers, including his inaugural triumph in the Daytona 500, the first of 4 such wins for him. He also triumphed again in the Firecracker 400, completing a sweep of the Daytona races. Notably, he achieved victory at his hometown track, Darlington Raceway, leading an impressive 169 laps in the Southern 500. The conclusion of the 1970 season marked a pivotal moment for Yarborough as Ford withdrew its factory support for NASCAR teams, leaving him without a team. In response, he shifted his focus to open-wheel racing, participating in 10 USAC races. This included his third attempt at the Indy 500, where he finished 16th, and his notable achievements in open-wheel racing included a 5th-place finish at both the Trenton Speedway and the Michigan 500. In 1972, Yarborough's involvement in Cup races was limited, but he completed his 4th and final Indy 500, securing a career-best 10th-place finish after starting 32nd. Returning to NASCAR in 1973 after participating in only 9 races over the previous 2 years, Yarborough completed the full schedule for the first time in his career. Behind the wheel of a Chevrolet for Richard Howard, he clinched 4 victories and concluded the season as the championship runner-up to Benny Parsons. In 1974, Yarborough experienced a remarkable season, securing victories in 10 races, yet falling short of the championship once again, this time to Richard Petty. During the course of the season, team owner Richard Howard sold the team to Junior Johnson, a former driver who had transitioned into team ownership after achieving success with 50 wins as a driver. This strategic alliance proved formidable. Yarborough made history by becoming the first driver ever and only one of two to this day to clinch 3 consecutive championships. From 1976 to 1978, he demonstrated unparalleled dominance by winning 1/3 of the races he entered. Notably, he claimed his second Daytona 500 victory in 1977 and secured his 4th Southern 500 triumph in 1978, showcasing his enduring prowess. However, one of Yarborough's most iconic moments occurred in a race where victory eluded him. In 1979 Daytona 500 saw an intense battle between Yarborough and Donnie Ellison, unfolding as the first NASCAR race to receive flag-to-flag coverage. The final lap featured a fierce door-to-door duel between the two, resulting in a collision that allowed Richard Petty to claim the checkered flag. The dramatic aftermath, including a physical altercation between Yarborough, Donnie Ellison, and Bobby Allison in the infield, is often cited as a pivotal moment in NASCAR's transition from a regional sport to a national spectacle. Entering the 1980s, Yarborough continued to amass victories and embarked on a new journey by teaming up with MC Anderson. In 1981, he transitioned back to a part-time schedule with a new team, and during that same year, Yarborough expanded his racing repertoire by participating in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, driving a Chevrolet Camaro. Unfortunately, the endeavor was cut short, as the team completed only 13 laps before crashing out around the 2-hour mark. Persisting with a partial NASCAR schedule in the subsequent years, Yarborough secured additional wins, particularly for Rainier Lundy, after Anderson's team closed its doors. In the early stages of the 1983 season, Yarborough etched his name in the record books by becoming the first driver to achieve a lap average above 200 miles per hour at Daytona International Speedway, registering an impressive 200.503 miles per hour. Despite pushing the limit further in his second lap of qualifying and losing control, resulting in a spectacular airborne moment, Yarborough overcame the setback and ultimately triumphed in the Daytona 500 using a backup car. In 1984, Yarborough secured a monumental victory by winning his 4th and final Daytona 500, accomplishing this feat with 3 different teams. While he came close to achieving a Daytona sweep that year, fate took a different turn, casting him as the central figure in yet another iconic moment for the sport, where he found himself on the losing side. In a thrilling finish at the Firecracker 400, with US President Ronald Reagan in attendance, Yarborough engaged in a drag race to the finish line against Petty. The race concluded with Petty narrowly taking the race-ending yellow flag, marking his 200th and final win in the NASCAR Cup Series. Notably, in 1984, Yarborough also secured the International Race of Champions title, outperforming several fellow NASCAR stars and formidable competitors such as Gordon Johncock, Johnny Rutherford, Emerson Fittipaldi, Jackie Ickx, Tom Sneva, Derek Bell, and Denny Ongais. Yarborough's 83rd and final victory as a driver, a feat that currently places him 6th on the all-time wins list, occurred the following year. He outpaced Bill Elliott to claim victory at Charlotte Motor Speedway, leading an impressive 49 of 334 laps. Transitioning into the role of a driver/owner, Yarborough ended his racing career with a notable top 10 finish in his final race at Atlanta in 1988, and his illustrious driving career comprised 560 starts, 83 victories, 255 top 5s, 319 top 10s, and 69 poles. Notably, he clinched the Southern 500 title 5 times, a record that endured for over 2 decades until Jeff Gordon surpassed it. Yarborough's exceptional record of 3 consecutive titles was only matched by Jimmy Johnson, who also shares the same spot with Yarborough on the all-time wins list. He would spend the next decade involved in team ownership before retiring to his farm and pursuing other business interests that included restaurants, auto dealerships, textile interests, and dry cleaning franchises. He made rare appearances in the sport, including a surprise visit at the 2008 NASCAR Awards banquet, where he congratulated Jimmy Johnson for tying his 3 consecutive championship records, a record Johnson would break the next year en route to a total of 7 titles. While his venture into ownership didn't yield considerable success, Cale Yarborough's remarkable driving career more than secured his place in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in 1993 and the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2012. Widely acknowledged as one of the most resilient drivers to grace the sport, Yarborough's toughness extended beyond the confines of the driver's seat. After surviving a skydiving accident from 5,000 feet due to a failed parachute, being struck by lightning, and enduring a rattlesnake bite as a child, he emerged unscathed from these life-threatening ordeals. Notably, even a harrowing incident where his car was launched outside the track at Darlington Raceway left him walking away unharmed. As the saying goes, there's tough, and then there's Cale Yarborough tough. His contributions were integral to NASCAR's growth, but beyond that, he stands as one of the best to ever grace the sport. May he rest in peace, knowing he will be a true icon of the sport forever. Thank you for watching this video. Let us know your thoughts about Cale Yarborough in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.